Here it goes. Nickelodeon's Kel Mitchell exposed for being a narcissistic, abusive junkie. Tyisha Hampton story. We're all aware that everything isn't what it seems, especially in the world of make-believe, known as those exclusive corridors of Hollywood's main streets. Our favorite, braided, bobbed bimbo, and half of TV's favorite 90s duo, Kel Mitchell, notably known for his role as Kenan Thompson's brother from another mother on their hit show, Kenan Kel, is being called out relentlessly by his ex-wife, Tyisha Hampton, for allegedly owing millions in back child support, tax debt, and royalties. On top of being digitally awarded with a deadbeat dad certificate, he's also being accused of putting the paws on not only Tyisha, but their daughter as well. Along with stealing their kids' college funds, being addicted to coke, and we ain't talking cola, and even stealing the kids themselves. This one will definitely throw you for several loops. So grab your orange soda and shot glasses, because we're about to deep dive into the side of Kel Mitchell we never were supposed to. This is the Tyisha Hampton story. Kel Mitchell was once known as Nickelodeon's golden boy back in the digital-free heydays of the 90s, gifting us pop cultural film staples as well as television classics. Starring in comedy sketch shows such as All That, he climbed the actor's equivalent of the corporate ladder, sealing his own series, Kenan Kel, alongside his right-hand man, Kenan Thompson. Young, wild, and free are just a few adjectives to describe the primal years in our favorite Good Burger employee's career. Wild parties, odd antics, and all the women he could possibly want were basically at his fingertips. But it had only been one woman, Tyisha Hampton, who'd caught his eye and his heart. While Kel was flipping faux prop patties, his soon-to-be wife Tyisha just happened to be on the set of Good Burger. But the two didn't quite hit it off right away. It took about an hour or so for Kel to sweet-talk his way into Tyisha's contact list, and he'd soon be escorting her to dinner dates and late-night trips to the beach. From diving into the star-reflected ocean to diving straight into marriage, Kel and Tyisha decided to exchange vows in the year 1999, after just dating for a year, and some change, and shortly a son lyric would come a few months later. Tyisha, whose background of origin stems from a Christian upbringing, was now a wife and devoted mother, all before the age of 25, which didn't sit well with her mom and pops. Nevertheless, she settled in with her new life and was determined to be the best mother that she knew how. The beginning stages of motherhood, of course, was no easy task, but Kel being who he was, and Tyisha being herself an actress and film writer, made it work. Everything was smooth sailing with the three, turned into four in 2001, after the birth of their daughter, Allure. Family unit appeared to be the picture-perfect family. Little did we know, the Kel that we've grown accustomed to over the years apparently wasn't the Kel Tyisha got when the cameras weren't rolling. First things first, Tyisha was no bum, to say the least. Sister Girl was holding the family all the way down, even whilst her kid's father was still in high demand. She still had a corporate job along with her acting gigs at the time, and knowing how tough it can be for new mothers to work and take care of the kids, Kel insisted on Ty quitting her job altogether, undoubtedly making her a stay-at-home mom. Whatever Tyisha needed, Kel was there to lend a helping hand, as a husband should. When her car was having trouble, he told her to drive his, and urged her to get rid of hers. Tyisha soon realized that Kel wanted her by his side at all hours by the hour. If not, he'd assume she was out and about on Hollywood's main drag, being a hot girl doing something strange for a piece of change, if you catch my drift. This mentality was absurd to Tyisha, who didn't understand why her husband was accusing her of cheating, given the fact that Kel was her first everything. And I do mean everything. She was a whole virgin, no Mary, when the two had met, so Kel's outlandish allegations seemed absurd to his wife. Lo and behold, she'd soon find out why he had been accusing her of stepping out on their marriage. But before we get into that, I gotta take y'all back a little. Following the end of Kenan and Kel in the year 2000, both Kenan and Kel agreed to shoot their shots at being on NBC's Saturday Night Live. Despite the network wanting them both, the two still had to audition. And if it wasn't evident by now, Kenan passed his audition with flying colors and has been part of the SNL familia since 2003. As for Kel, well, have you seen him? Exactly. Kel thought that after the end of their show, he'd be handed movie roles no problem. But he couldn't have been more wrong. During this transitional time in their lives, Tyisha decided that she'd go to college. And since Kel was practically out of work, he'd often tag along with her. But would soon discover that having your man, who wasn't even a student at the school, mind you, tag along to all of your college courses wasn't the norm. Taking the hint, he'd soon enroll himself in the exact same college, given the notion that he was there to get a degree. Meanwhile, he was really there to keep an eye out for Tyisha. Kel was convinced that Tyisha was seeing her side pieces behind his back, which couldn't have been more further from the truth, since it wasn't Tyisha who was working overtime trying to hide her sneaky links, but it had been Kel himself who was doing all the lying, cheating, and scamming. Unbeknownst to her, Tyisha was too naive to catch on to the smear campaign Kel had been plotting in case things really hit the fan. While Kel was out being a low-key menace, he'd also been informing not only his family, but Tyisha's as well about her wrongful doings, which weren't wrongful at all, since she wasn't the one doing all the cheating. Kel told their family not only was Tyisha cheating, but that she also hadn't been taking care of their kids, and even told them that she was sniffing the booger sugar, something Tyisha had suspected Kel to have been doing all along, which was later confirmed by Kel himself during an interview with the CBN network. He'd often come home in the wee hours of the night with what appeared to be hickeys on his neck and body, which he'd routinely deny. Rubbers, and I ain't talking about bands, were found in his truck, which he'd say were his homeboys, and he'd often use his partner in crime, Kenan, as his excuse for smelling like cheap perfumes and staying at hotels. Little did Kel know, his wife long suspected that he was sleeping with the whole block and the other neighborhoods. Tyisha often suspected that Kel was indulging in drugs, but never had any real solid evidence. His behavior had become more strange and more complex. Witchcraft, psychics, and all else in between were discussed. And Tyisha, being a child of the Most High, wasn't on that type of time. A bizarre incident took place one evening after she arrived at their home and caught Kel in the middle of what appeared to be a pentagon, with objects belonging to her such as a toothbrush and candle near his side. Once confronted about the Exorcist-esque display, he brushed her off and basically told her that she was crazy. Well, just our luck, because the story gets even crazier. While Kel was slandering his wife to his and her relatives, according to Tyisha, he was also abusing her behind closed doors. The manipulation, lies, deceit, and all the cheating came to a head, and by this point, Ty was done playing mind games with her man. Following the passing of her sister's friend's husband, Tyisha wanted to be there for their time in need. She told Kel that she wanted to go support her sister and her friend, which would call for Tyisha being out for several days. This unintentionally had set Kel all the way off, and he'd accuse her of cheating yet again. Preparing their kids for bed, Tyisha had already established a routine of reading their kids' Bible verses every night. And this is where she said Kel walked up behind her, put his arm around her neck, and attempted to choke her lights out. Breaking free of his hold, she grabbed the keys to his truck before running out of the house barefoot. Kel eventually made it outside of the house and proceeded to pick up and launch several bricks at the windshield, prompting Tyisha to urgently dial 911. Unfortunately, the call dropped abruptly due to her phone dying, and the quickness she skedaddled out of their driveway and ended up at a local gas station in pursuit of finding the nearest payphone to call the police once again. Authorities arrived at their home and urged Tyisha to come back to explain her side of things, which she was hesitant about given the father of her kids had just attempted to choke her not long prior. She'd soon find herself back at the residence, and just her luck would come to find out that the cops who had shown up were actually fans of Kel's. Gathering all the info, one of the officers, a pregnant woman, noticed a bite mark on Kel's hand due to Tyisha chomping down on it in order to free herself, and gave them the ultimatum of them both going to jail or one of them. Tyisha ultimately decided that she'd be the one to get hauled off to the big house, not wanting to put Kel's reputation at jeopardy. Despite their tumultuous union, so far the two remained married a short while after, before splitting in 2005. Not too long after, Kel outright stole their kids without telling Tyisha and bounced to Chicago, where his mother lived. While she was out of state, Kel had taken the kids and continued to tell his family that Tyisha was the problem. Upon her return, Tyisha was furious, as any mother would be, and had called Kel's mother to uncode the whereabouts of her children, which didn't go well, since Kel had already convinced his fam that Tyisha was a lying, vindictive cheat, and the jail incident not too long ago made it appear as though Kel's claims were indeed accurate. Gathering up her relatives, Tyisha booked the fastest flight to Chi-Town in the pursuit of finding her kids by any means necessary, which wasn't an easy task. But with the help of Chicago police, whilst looking for the kids, Kel's family would move Lyrics and Allure to different areas of the house, including the shed with blankets placed over them, in hopes of no one finding their whereabouts. Eventually, the jig was up, and Tyisha would soon be reunited with her babies. But oh, was it far from over. Upon returning home, Tyisha was slapped in the face with a warrant out for her arrest, due to Kel telling the authorities she had been abusing their children. But the case was dropped soon after. The mess continued even after their split, with Kel filing a falsified domestic suit against Tyisha, resulting in her getting the cuffs placed on her wrists yet again, due to Kel's IRS tax debt. He even sold the house she was still living in with their kids a year after their divorce, which caused several messy trials to ensue. 3 to be exact. Millions spent on attorneys and legal fees with the hopes of keeping her home, Tyisha would eventually be arrested for grand theft of house after a real estate broker purchased her home from Kel. Now, if you're wondering how all of this is even remotely possible, apparently they had bought the home in both of their names, separately giving Kel rightful ownership of the house as well. Tyisha was locked up and they weren't letting her out anytime soon, but the 30-day jail stint served as somewhat of a vacation to her, something she says she desperately needed. It'd take years to undo the sale of her home, but she was finally able to get the house back in 2010. On top of his IRS debt, Kel allegedly owes Tyisha millions in backed child support and movie royalties for his starring film Ganked, that Tyisha herself wrote, produced, as well as Kel Video Lives. During his interview with the CBN network, the drug speculations Tyisha had suspected all that time throughout their relationship were confirmed by Kel himself, who also admitted to cheating on her with call girls. Visitation with their kids was also a hassle. Kel oftentimes then not showing up so often that Tyisha got it rearranged to where they'd meet at places like Chuck E. Cheese, so that the kids would still have fun even if daddy was a no-show. But according to Kel, this wasn't all the way factual. Let Kel tell it. Tyisha continued to take the kids to see their dad even after visitations stopped for a period of time. Nevertheless, let Tyisha tell it. Kel went 7+ years without seeing his kids at one point. Once news broke and Tyisha's claims spread all over the net, Kel took to his socials in hopes of putting an end to all the madness, calling her claims cap. In response to him awarding her with the Pinocchio title, Tyisha came with a few receipts to hopefully add some weight to her allegations. As of recently, Tyisha's website, deadbeatspay.com, aiding single mothers and women with deadbeat baby daddies to get their due money without breaking their pockets going through the court system. Her TikTok, which used to go by @deadbeat Kel Mitchell, displays a multitude of videos regarding her relationship with Kel and his deadbeat antics. Is it true? Well, I don't know about you, but this one right here was a hard pill to swallow. Like the saying goes, there's his side, her side, and the truth. No matter which side of the fence you're on, let this be a lesson. In the words of Tyisha Hampton herself, don't allow your kids to look up to these celebrities too much, because you never know who they truly are. Do you believe Tyisha's story? Let us know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. And stay tuned for more true celebrity stories.